for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and everybody listening to these signals coming from our 100,000 watt transmitter into those magical boxes of the past, but also the present, called what again? What again? What again? Radios. Of course, good morning to the rest of the world. Yes, folks, through the magic of the internet, we're listened to all over. And every day, I'm sure to have good folks from around the world who also love to hear about what's happening in the United States of America. Yes, still the most important country in the world, given its prowess, its power, etc., etc., etc. Let's not lose the world because of incompetent leadership. Let's not do that. Anyway, folks, welcome Art Within on the chat. The first person to join the chat. Would love to know where Art is from. But before I get started here, it's incumbent on me to go to the people that really, really make all of this happen. And who's that? The one and only duo in the studio, which is Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Beppa. Good morning,
Jack, have you
brothers.
seen any of those guys?
We're the dynamic duo now.
Oh, I thought it was more like Laurel and Hardy.
That's a pretty dynamic duo.
Yeah, pretty much the Marx Brothers in charge here. Good morning, Egberto. How
Good
are
morning.
you?
I am doing fine. I'm doing great, actually.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yes.
I was noticing this morning that our Republican candidate for president is trying to distance himself from Project 2025.
Yeah.
However, most of the people that that wrote this thing were compadres of his. You know, they were friends of his. He's addressed the Heritage Foundation himself, so
Yes.
he knows what's going on. It's just another big lie. Oh, I don't know anything about those guys just because it's really unpopular. Now, you know, interestingly enough, Project 2025 is not as new as it sounds.
Right.
They were trying to get Reagan to implement some of their stuff too, and he wouldn't do it. He goes,
Right.
I don't think so. So they finally found a weak-brained person to try and influence and pass some of their stuff.
You know,
So, but I don't think
Howard,
it's
if
gonna
I can
happen.
interrupt you, one
You
quick
can,
second,
certainly.
just
Go
to
right
say
ahead.
this, because I want to tell you, you just nailed it. That is why so many billionaires are willing to invest in Donald Trump. You said the magical word. They found the weak-minded person who would implement the draconian things that even Republicans know would harm their people. Think about that. Thank you, Howard. I didn't want to forget to give you kudos on that one.
Well, you know, I think that Ronald Reagan was too strong for him. He wouldn't do it. He said, no, this is garbage. We're not going to do this. And they didn't try it with George W. Bush or any of the other Republicans because they had their own agendas. And they said, no, this doesn't fit in with what I want to do. But the weak mind and overblown ego of the Republican candidate is certainly prime for this. And that's really about all I
Absolutely.
can say. Jack, you have looks like a quarter page here.
Yeah.
You got some wisdom.
Yeah. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Project 2025 basically gives all power over to corporate interests. Demonizes the poor, but it seduces the middle classes like a vampire, sinking its fangs into your neck, wallet, and purses. Make no mistake, Project 2025 is intended to bleed the middle classes.
Look, you nailed it, my brother. You nailed it. Bleed the middle class because when people talk about that's where all the money is. Well, there are so many people in the middle class. Yeah, all the money is all the rest of the money. That's where it is. All the bulk of the money. Yes, it's already earned, not earned. It's already pretty much use the economic system to go to the top. But yes, sir, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Anyway, is that it, Jack? Can I get started, or you have some more to say?
Yeah, go ahead. No, that's
All
it.
right. Okay, look, folks, before I go to the calls, right? This is an important piece that I want to go over. It really tickled me. And by the way, we talk about this a whole lot, but this is one columnist that went ahead and dig a little bit deeper into it. And I want to bring this to you. She wrote an article. Her name is Anna Malino. And Anna Malino wrote a piece for Common Dreams called Marketplace Subsidies, Poll Tax on the Poor, Giveaways for the Rich, Subsidizing the For-Profit Insurance Industry with Taxpayer Dollars is a Disaster that Must Not Continue. And folks, I want you to listen well, whether you are and we're going to, I got to do this before I get to the callers. So callers, you're going to be on a hold a little bit, let's say a few minutes, but we need to go over this particular issue here. Whether you are a Republican or Democrat, this matters to you. So I'm going to ask everybody here that's listening to this, take off your ideological lens, take off your ideological glasses, and listen to this intently. Welcome, Diggs BTW1 on the chat. So whether you're a Republican or Democrat, listen intently. When the Biden administration ended the COVID-19 public health emergency in March 2023, for over 20 million poor children and adults on Medicaid through Medicaid unwinding, it had just extended exchange health insurance subsidies, which provided billions of taxpayer dollars to health insurance companies for the same pandemic. In other words, during the Biden administration, and you know that we had the pandemic, we used the pandemic to get a whole lot of Americans, because there are millions of Americans that were uninsured. They didn't have health care. Well, because of the pandemic, that was a good entry into giving people health care. We want people healthy, right? Now, nowhere is the dictum socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor more apparent than in the decision to end continuous enrollment in Medicaid, which protected millions of poor children and adults during the pandemic from being kicked off Medicaid, and to enhance and then continue the exchange health insurance subsidies through the Inflation Reduction Act. Again, remember what happened here. We had they stopped that automatic enrollment into Medicaid expansion, and now you had to go fight for it to see how best you could qualify for it. Now you had to make this huge effort, whether you're poor, you're almost poor, or whatever. But it was still a subsidy. I mean, most people, or a lot of people, still got the Medicaid. But I want to continue here. But KFF.org, a nonprofit health policy research, polling, and news organization, is sounding the alarm. The results of the 2024 elections will likely play a major role in whether the enhanced subsidies are extended beyond 2025. Meaning, vote for the Democratic candidate or these subsidies will be cut off. This is not a statement of hyperbole. These are statements of fact. Let me continue. Who benefits from the subsidies on the exchanges, also aptly called the marketplace? When you go to healthcare.gov, you get the marketplace. This marketplace is all the insurance companies throw the plans that they've selected for people onto this marketplace. And supposedly now the American population who don't get insurance from their companies, which now are most, can go on this marketplace and shop for the best deal for insurance that they pay. And depending on how much you make, some of it is subsidized by the government. So let's continue. Yes, people who earn too much to qualify for Medicaid, or who live in states which have not expanded the Medicaid, but not enough to pay for private health insurance, benefit to some extent, but only in a warped kind of way, depending on their level of poverty. These individuals and their families might qualify for zero premium monthly payment with a hefty deductible. KFF.org has a nifty calculator where you plug in your state, income, and size of family and figure out how much a silver plan will cost you. Keep reading the fine print, because even if you have zero monthly premiums, listen well here, folks. I need you to listen here. When you're going onto the marketplace, the Affordable Care Act, to shop, you may get a zero monthly income premium because, again, you're too poor for to pay the premium. But your out-of-pocket annual cost could be as high as $6,300 anyway, because there's a deductible. This means that you pay per year 6.3% of your annual income before the insurance company starts to pay a penny for your care. Poor people benefit if they don't get sick, but if they do get sick, now is where they pay out the gazoo. How much would a family of four earning about $40,000 pay per year pay for the silver plan without subsidies from the exchange? About $1,400 per month. Wait! Is the insurance company giving poor people premiums for free? Nope, not at all. No, not at all. The government, using tax dollars, pays the insurance company $1,400 for the monthly premium. The government pays the insurance company $17,796 annually to provide the family with a silver plan, plus the family pays $6,300 out of pocket if they need health care before the insurance company pays a penny. In other words, before the insurance company starts to pay a penny for your health care, they have already made $24,000 every year for your family. I want you to understand, when we talk about when these insurance companies are trying to tell you the government is trying to socialize your medicine, or you have the right wing groups trying to tell you you're socialist because you want Medicare for all. You want to have a system that doesn't just give the insurance companies a lot of money. I want you to understand this, what we're discussing here, in detail. The insurance company, before they have to pay a penny, get a minimum of $17,796 a year, or if you get sick, up to $24,000 a year before they have to pay a penny. And remember, they also negotiate on the back end with the provider. They tell the hospital, we're not going to give you $500 for the room. We're going to give you $200 for the room. I mean, so again, these are people, health insurance companies. It's an industry that creates nothing, makes nothing, serves nothing, gives nothing. But before anything exchanges, they get $24,000 in their pockets. You want to know why they fight so much to keep you dumb, to make you believe that Medicare for all is socialized medicine and it's going to be bad for you? Because they've got a cash cow in you via your government and via your deductibles. $24,000 before a penny is paid out on your behalf. In 2022, health insurance companies offering plans through the exchanges made $20 billion. If the subsidies are extended permanently, as KFF suggests, the price tag, according to the congressional budget, will be closer to $28 billion to these companies. Think about this, folks. I want you to think straight. All these companies do is they are a conduit between you and your health care. So they extract $28 billion for paying a bill that your government can pay with one entity and you can pay via your taxes. And they try to make it seem like they're doing you a favor to protect you from healthcare socialism, socialized medicine. People, the reason they need you dumb is because that's the way they can pilfer you. That is the way they can take your money right out of your pockets. You work hard every single day. There is a more equitable, much less expensive way to fix this. Eliminate health insurance companies altogether. They don't provide a service to you. They do not provide, the hospital provides a service, the doctors provide a service, even the equipment manufacturers provide a service, even though drug companies and these other guys need to be tailored in because most of the design and the technology that goes into these products were designed on and invented. The intellect came from you. You're the one who paid all the universities where these things are developed. Again, people, they need you dumb. What we try to do here is educate everyone on how things really work. And in doing so, you can make the appropriate political choices so that they can no longer have the few, the corporate state, pilfer you, rob you, steal from you legally. Brothers and sisters, please, this is not an ideological issue. This is a common sense issue once you're educated. This is an issue where we have been fooled, indoctrinated for decades upon decades upon decades. And the reason you don't hear this often in this detail on mainstream media is because you don't slap the hands that feed you. And if you take a look, every other commercial is a healthcare commercial, is an insurance, it's a drug. It's one of these guys that are funding an inordinate amount of money. And part of that money, that inordinate amount of money, is to keep you dumb. Let's go to John. Come on in, John. Line number 1.
Good morning, Beto.
Good morning, my
Beto.
brother. Good morning. Talk to me, my brother.
Man, you were so right about this issue, this healthcare issue, because I've been dealing with it. I was a union steward with Southwestern Bell back in the late 80s when they took our healthcare from us in the federal contract. And that's what they used. They used words like, oh, you have a choice. We're going to give you a choice. Well, I didn't want a choice. I had a federally contracted healthcare that I paid no premiums. It was Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was top of the line. But since then, I've been fighting exactly your fight, exactly what you're talking about. Sure, you can afford. I can afford the premiums, but I can't afford the deductibles.
Deductibles, right?
And yeah, that's what they kill you, and you have no choice. So then you're stuck when you get to be 74 years old, or actually younger than that. But you get bombarded by people trying to scam Medicare.
Yep.
And they use the same argument over and over and over. And so, yeah, you do fight that. And so it gets to my point with words. Use a few words, keywords. Hey, you're going to get this free. Well, nothing's free. I paid into Medicare for 40 years. So there's nothing free about it. And I've had to deal with scams, and you have to, as an elderly person, you have to deal with it. And so they use words, just a simple word like choice. And again, my idea yesterday, I sat there and listened to all these pundits talk yesterday and how they're fighting Kamala. And they use words like, oh, they're going to deal with the border by just bringing up the border. It doesn't matter what they say about the border. They're simply going to say Biden's plan doesn't work. It doesn't matter what the real problem is because they don't have a solution. And it's the same thing with the economy. Oh, well, it doesn't matter about the economy because look at inflation. Go to the grocery store. And so you use those simple words. Just it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. And Robert Reich brings 2025, and they're going to try to distance themselves from that. Simply just deny, and eventually, no matter how long you tell a lie, eventually they realize it's going to become the truth.
John, thank you. John, you nailed it. I need to go to the other caller, John, but you nailed it. I want to thank you for your input into your personal interaction with the healthcare system and the fraud that they play on you. When it comes to 2025 that you're just talking about, we are not going to allow Donald Trump to run away from 2025, Project 2025. The fact of the matter is he had already started implemented Project 2025 with all the judges that were appointed, with all the laws that got detached or got overthrown by the people he appointed to the Supreme Court. Let's go to Brother Tag. Come on in, Tag.
Good morning, Alberto.
Good morning, sir.
Just listening to your talk about health care this morning, and I really want to talk about the bigger picture, but to focus in on that a minute. So many people, the right-wingers, talk about how they need to cut government agencies so that the tax cost goes down. I mean, that's the bottom line here. Our government's too big. So when you bring up this healthcare issue, and we have these insurance companies who are getting this money for doing nothing, is what you've been saying this morning, right?
Absolutely. The insurance companies are nothing much but a middle person that goes ahead and passes money to rich to a whole bunch of people. They do nothing. They offer no services. Continue, my brother.
Right. Well, the whole point is that they're getting money from the government on our behalf before they give us anything.
Right.
So basically, if the right wing wants to eliminate the whole healthcare system, you'll get rid of that. But that's not going away. The insurance companies are still going to be there collecting money from somebody, and that's why what they're saying makes no sense at all, because the insurance companies are still going to be there. The insurance companies are going to be the last guy standing. If they get rid of the government agencies like Medicare, Medicaid, they get rid of that. You still have your insurance companies there with their hand out collecting money from everybody.
You nailed it. You nailed it. The insurance companies would actually get bigger because at least with the government, in as much as they are getting ripped off by the insurance companies, now it's going to be individuals getting ripped off by the insurance companies because nobody wants to have the potential of $100,000 bill. So the insurance company is going to keep command. And now, whereas the government has the power of protection because of its size, the individual does not. That's why Project 2025 and the right hates wherever the average American citizen get together and form unions or work as organizations working together. Continue, my brother Johnny.
No, Tag.
Tag. Yeah.
Yeah. What it comes down to is the insurance companies, and this is something that everybody hates universally, right wing, left wing, whoever you are, they hate this, that the insurance companies are right now cooking the books to try to convince us that we need them more than we need the government. And that's a very dangerous thing to fall into. But the bigger picture here, which I really want to talk about briefly, is the $1.7 trillion tax cut that the rich got back under Trump, and it was all given out under the guise of trickle-down economy. Okay, it's time that we Americans stick a fork in this idea of a trickle-down economy. It doesn't work. It'll never work. And all it is a way to move money from the poor to the rich. And until we stand up and say, no, hell no, we're not going to participate in a trickle-down economy. We're not going to give the rich any more tax cuts. We are going to be slaves to the 1%. And we just can't do that.
You nailed it.
Need to have a government. We need to have a government running interference for us against the 1%. We can't have the 1% using the government against us.
Thank
so
you.
That was kind of my message for this morning, Egberto.
Tag message well received and message absolutely right. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Let's go to Brother Johnny. Come on in, Brother Johnny.
Good morning. So there are a bunch of people all working together under one roof, employed by the corporate industrial oligarchs, people with different disciplines, lawyers, accountants, forensic accountants, wordsmiths, people who decided to cash out and not work in journalism per se or advertising. They all work under the roof of these buildings that we more commonly know as think tanks. And they've been doing this for decades, started by the Koch brothers, I believe. They were the first ones to start funding this thing called a think tank. And what those guys do, working under one roof, their whole mission is to undermine the cooperative spirit of other people working together under the roof called Congress. And their goal, like you and Captain Reynolds Rap has said, is to exploit and manufacture more weak-minded people. And we all know what happens to cows when they no longer can be milked. They get put out to pasture, so to speak. The cattle eventually wind up in the slaughterhouse. So, not to put a fine point on it, which I am not interested in my mindset today, given my mood, I would say that this sleight of hand that the so-called advantage companies do, they're allowed to do because the people who work with them are constantly pressuring and lobbying members of Congress, and they do it to both the Republicans and the centrist Democrats. And what we're seeing unfold in front of us is the demolition, the unwinding of our governmental structure. That's what they need. That's part of their process of making weak-minded people. Donald Trump, he's not the only one. Don't forget, 70 million other weak-minded people voted for that schmuck in 2016, including my family, I'm ashamed to say. We're in trouble, guys. We are in big, big trouble. And we have to, if we get into the White House again, we have to take to the streets, because I don't care if it's Kamala Harris or whoever they put in there, the DNC, the centrist Democrats, they are determined to put two centrists in there as president and vice president. We still got an uphill battle. It's going to be literal and figurative in the streets. So I hope they listen to me. I hope you're correct, Egberto, when you told me yesterday, oh, yeah, they will very likely put some progressives in the cabinet. Well, let's see. I'm not that hopeful. I'm not holding my breath. Even if they do that, we still have to get into the streets. Just giving you guys a heads up. And when you do get into the streets, those morons with guns and knives who don't like us, they will provoke us. They will look for an excuse to get us to fight them first. Now, we got to be prepared to fight back, but if they fight first, it's only common sense. And we got people who are volunteers who can document this stuff in real time and transmit. That's the only thing that's going to save us legally, I think. Anyway.
Johnny, let me just tell you, first of all, the first thing is to get somebody that will listen to progressives in office. That's step number one. That has to be done. Step number two is not do what we did and I don't know if you remember that Obama, during the Obama campaign in 2008, we had I forgot what it was called, OFA, Obama for America, I think it's what it used to be called. And that was a great, huge grassroots organization. And if you take a look at what happened to that, it was dismantled because, again, they feared it. It was one cohesive group that got things done. That's the only reason someone like Obama could have been elected in 2008, because it proved that grassroots movements work. Now, here's the thing. Just like you're talking here on the radio, we are going to have to stop being just radio warriors and keyboard warriors and do exactly what you said. Let them know we will be in the streets for policy. We will be in the streets to demand policy. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, Johnny. Things are not going to be given, and the White House have its own gravity. Things are not going to be given. We have to do what I think it was Johnson that said, make me do it. When Kamala is in the White House, you're going to have to make her do it. That is the name of the game. So I don't want anybody to think that there is anything that's going to be given. You're going to have to make them do it. Thank you, Johnny. You have a wonderful
phrase make. It's another great phrase besides "make me do it," and this phrase comes from the oligarchs.
What is it?
Remember, they told us in grade school this, in economics class, and in high school, buyer beware.
Yeah,
Buyer beware.
Right,
See,
but here's why. Johnny, hold on. Johnny, hold on. Brother Johnny, hold on a second, my brother. Here's the deal. I don't want to use buyer beware. I want to say make them do it. I don't want the concern. I want an action. An action is make them do it.
Understanding.
Yes.
You're misinterpreting what I'm trying to tell you. When I say they say to us, buyer beware, I'm reminding you that when we were little, growing up and going through school, they told us that as part of our economics training. That was their way of saying, yeah, but we told you we were a bunch of snakes. So my response is, if and when we get out into the streets, literally and figuratively, we also have to be aware of other groups trying to infiltrate us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Well, let me just say before you go, I need to interrupt you here. Before you go, remember a lot of during the economic angst in Wall Street, because as a part of the Wall Street Occupy Wall Street movement, there was a lot of infiltrations to try to make it seem violent. And the same applied to Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of infiltrations to try to make it look violent. You nailed it there, brother. Hey, I got to go to Spike, man. All right?
Thank you very much.
You have a good day, brother. Let's go to Spike. Come on, Spike. How you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Right on. Hey, I see a lot of commercials on TV where they're trying to get you to join Medicare Advantage, to get you, hooked up with all these different insurances. How come Medicare don't put commercials on TV to talk about what Medicare Advantage is about?
Okay,
I never see commercials on that.
Spike, because
the kind of law against them putting.
Let me just say, they're bought. Parts of your government is bought. I mean, Medicare Advantage only occurred because Congress allowed Medicare Advantage to occur. Medicare Advantage should be called Medicare Disadvantage. Look, if you are they've made Medicare Advantage seem like the better option for older people. Look, the way it works for people who don't have the ability to pay for a Medigap plan, they get you by saying it costs you zero and we cover you. Of course, that's not the truth. They deny you a whole lot. I want to make a blanket statement here, Spike, because you opened the door. Anybody that's of age, 65, I think, is when you qualify for Medicare. As soon as you turn 65, or just before you turn 65, you are going to be bombarded by these insurance companies and trying to make Medicare Advantage look cheaper and make Medicare Advantage look like the preferred option for you. And in fact, Project 2025 as well is out there wanting to eliminate Medicare altogether and just support Medicare Advantage. I'm going to let you speak, Spike, but I want to get this out to the public. uh, they are constantly asking you to defy math. The private sector could not possibly pay for your health care at a lesser cost than the government because they have overhead of paying their executives. They have overhead of many different overheads. So it will always cost more. And you know who pay that more? You do, whether by them denying you service by saying, nah, we don't think you need that x-ray. No, we don't think you need that. Now, the government pays 20% more to the Medicare Advantage companies to administer your Medicare than if you got Medicare directly from the government. And here's the kicker. The kicker is if instead of paying Medicare Advantage 20% more, they went ahead and simply gave Medicare, which you paid into all of your working life, and just gave you Medicare at no cost, it would cost the government less. That's how powerful insurance companies are, how bought off your politicians are by allowing Medicare Advantage. And they don't only allow Medicare Advantage, they allow them to lie to you to make you believe that Medicare Advantage is Medicare. It is not. It is just a form of passing money to rich corporations and a way for them to deny you coverage. Spike, please continue before I get to Patrick.
Right. Okay, and all of that you just said, how come Medicare does not get on TV and say that same thing that you just said to tell the people exactly what it is? That's what I'm talking about.
Because your government is bought off. I just answered you, my dear brother. Because your government is bought off by corporations. The corporations.
So they're not allowed. They're not allowed to get on TV and say that.
No, they are. They have a budget, but I mean, if your budget is limited, right? If the insurance companies have a huge billions of dollars that they can use on ads, and the government for they don't have that money because Congress has to allocate advertising money. Do you know what it took for Congress to get the money to advert? I don't know if you know, for healthcare, Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, there are these folks in the field called navigators. Navigators are out there to teach people how to. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying, that the Republicans and the Democrats are the same people.
Now let me explain a bit. Let me tell you about navigators, though, Spike. The way that the Republicans were trying to neuter Obamacare without saying we neutered Obamacare was simply not funding navigators. And if you don't fund navigators, or if you don't fund the people who teach you about the options that you have, guess what? You don't use it. And if you don't use it, you're going to use something else. And the something else you use are the people who advertise to you, which are the same mean, evil healthcare companies. So it's a vicious circle. But Spike, by you calling in here and giving me the opportunity to explain this, we have just informed a whole lot of people who will now become better voters. Thank you for your call, Spike.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. I'm probably going to be a broken record on this, but I'd like to point out that both Bernie and VP Harris tried to sign a bill to switch us over to single-payer health care. So I think voting for her is a step in the right direction for this. It will save us tax money. It will make us all healthier, because if everybody else around you is coughing and wheezing, you're going to be more likely to lose hours at work. You don't want a society that does not have health care. I'd also like to point out that one of the answers for these really big copays is your employer will tell you to sign up for an HSA, a health savings account, and I've done that. I don't advocate for it, but I've done it. But the only loser in those is the government. It's completely government subsidized because the lower middle class are putting together piles of money that will never be taxed. And
Yeah.
so if you're not going to be taxed out of that money, your taxes have to come from somewhere else, and it's still
Right.
going to come to the bottom and middle class.
Well, I mean,
Um,
the bottom line,
Right.
Patrick, is this: whenever the government does something that's unfunded like that, eventually they do it with deficit dollars. Deficit dollars is just a way to transfer money to wealthy people because the wealthy people are the ones who buy the government bonds, and so when we pay the government, the interest on the government bonds are paid out of the tax funds, and who gets the interest from the government bonds but the rich people who finance the government with the tax cuts that they got. It's amazing. It's a circular, destructive loop. Continue, my brother.
Absolutely, and it just gets more and more complex. They get more and more inventive on how to take money from you. And if you weren't having to put money towards that HSA, if you were an investor where you could find that kind of money, that could be going towards your retirement.
Absolutely.
Somebody is investing that money. There's no way there's piles of money that large that people aren't making money on it. But it is our money, and we're not seeing a dime of that investment.
There you go. You nailed it. You nailed it. That is another way for the people what I call the titans of finance, to make money on you. Like I said, billionaires don't naturally exist. Billionaires exist because they're parasites. They're not knowledgeable. They're parasites. And as harsh as that sound, every single billionaire is a parasite who made his billions on the backs of the many. Thank you very much, Patrick. I got to go to Brian. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian. You got to. I need another. I have to play a video, so go ahead and let me know what you want to tell me this morning, quickly, my brother.
Okay. Who chose Kamala Harris to be the president? Was
Who
it the
chose
people or somebody
Actually,
in a someplace?
Kamala Harris was chosen just like the president was chosen.
Who voted
That's
her
your
in?
answer. Say that again.
Who voted her in?
The people.
Okay.
Everybody.
to run for
Everybody who
president?
voted for. Everybody who voted for a delegate. Everybody who voted for a delegate in the Democratic primary voted her in through their delegate, just like the president was, just like Trump was installed by a minority of the population because he had more electoral college votes, which is representative of pieces of each state. And I don't think you think that we should get rid of Donald Trump in the year 2016. That's how Kamala was elected, through the delegates, like Trump was elected through his electoral votes.
So in Chicago, it hasn't been held yet, right? But she's the presumptive.
She is a
president, right?
presumptive. She's a presumptive nominee. She's a
President.
presumptive Democratic candidate. Yes, and if somebody wants to challenge her at the convention, they could, but nobody of substance will, because we pretty much want her as our candidate right now.
So the people don't want Bernie Sanders. They don't want Hillary Clinton.
Well, Bernie Sanders has already called that he supports her. He's already said he's not running, and he supports Kamala.
So she was chosen and not elected, right?
No, she was No, again, she was chosen by the delegates, like Trump was chosen by the Electoral College. We are a representative democracy, which is something people on the right always like to say, which is the truth. We're a representative democracy, but the problem is we are not all that representative because the right wing has more representation based on how votes are allocated. So we have to work doubly as hard. Those of us who are Democrats have to work doubly as hard, or not doubly, but harder, to garner the same political power. That's a statement, a mathematical statement of fact.
No, it's not a blue or red state. It's blue or red cities. If you look at
No. It doesn't. No. Again, it doesn't matter. There are more people that support progressive policies than there are people that support policies on the right. That's a statement of fact. Now the power the power dynamic is different because of how senators are elected and how districts are drawn. But if you do, and these are polls that have been consistent for decades, if you ask people what they want, the policies that they say that they want are more in line with progressives than they are on the right. And we don't have to argue about that. That is something that you can go on your internet and check every single poll that goes out there right now, including Fox News polls.
No,
So
you need to look on the map and you'll see that the majority of the country is red. The majority of the larger states are blue.
Land does not vote. Land mass does not vote. People vote. Land
People in
mass.
that- the people
Again,
the
land
people
does not vote. So if you look, put it this way: if everybody lives,
in the land
let's hold on. Let's have a state. If everybody lives in Houston and Austin, and 10 people live in all the other counties, because those people are isolated in large masses, should they have more power? Hell no. Again, people vote, not land. Land does not vote. People vote. So when you see those little blue dots in Austin or Houston or whatever, that doesn't matter. People are the people. People are what matters, not land.
Well, you just made the point for the Electoral College.
No, I didn't make the point for the Electoral
Oh,
College
no.
at all. Not at all. I want the president elected directly from the people. But what I'm saying is, in our current state of being, what happens is we elect people through a representative democracy, and the big problem is how do we create the representation? But hey, look, Brian, I got to go play my video, and then call me tomorrow. But I think we discussed quite a bit for the last 5 minutes and 5.04 minutes. So thank you, my brother, for calling. Love hearing your calls, and I love you brain teasing me all of the times. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bro.
Thank you, brother. All right, folks, I want you to listen to this a segment from Kamala's speech last night. Very important how she reversed the role on Donald Trump. Kamala Harris went to Atlanta, Georgia for a huge rally. I mean, there were thousands of people at the rally, and she did something on immigration that Democrats needed to have done for a very long time. That's why it's good to have young blood in. That's why it is good to have people who understand the law in. That's why it is good to have a good tactician that's running for president when you're running against a charlatan like Donald Trump. She is going to make the immigration issue not a Democratic weakness, but a weakness of President Trump. Check out how she does it here, and then we'll take it on the other side.
For example, on the issue of immigration. So I was the Attorney General of a border state. In that job, I walked underground tunnels between the United States and Mexico on that border with law enforcement officers. I went after transnational gangs, drug cartels, and human traffickers that came into our country illegally. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has been talking a big game about securing our border, but he does not walk the walk. Or as my friend Quavo would say, he does not walk it like he talks it. So look, our administration worked on the most significant border security bill in decades. Some of the most conservative Republicans in Washington, D.C. supported the bill. Even the Border Patrol endorsed it. It was all set to pass. But at the last minute, Trump directed his allies in the Senate to vote it down. He tanked the bipartisan deal because he thought it would help him win an election, which goes to show Donald Trump does not care about border security. He only cares about himself. And when I am president, I will work to actually solve the problem. So here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the border security bill that Donald Trump killed, and I will sign it into law and show Donald Trump what real leadership looks like.
So yes, what is Kamala Harris going to be able to do? She is going to be able to show that when it was time to solve a particular border problem, day in and day out, she has two things to say. With executive action by the president himself, he's been able to calm the border crossing. Even though we don't particularly like the means he had to use, he calmed the border crossing to a position less than when Donald Trump left office. But secondly, when it was really time to solve the problem, using a conservative plan, a bill that was written mostly by a conservative senator. Donald Trump was not interested in solving the problem. He claimed that the people coming over the border could actually be a threat to the United States. It could also bring terrorism, all this kind of stuff they like to talk about. So if he really cared about the country, he would not have said, don't sign the bill. Even if the bill isn't a perfect bill, if it's going to solve some problems, sign the bill and we can move on. And if in his case, if he thought he was going to be president again, we could make it better when I become president. But he is not interested in the problem. And what Kamala has started to do is to bend that problem, bend the immigration problem, and make it a Donald Trump problem. Immigration failure, Donald Trump. Immigration failure, Donald Trump. Well done. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, it's amazing because this is the kind of policies that were done for a long time. Okay, we're short on time, so I got to take the other calls real quickly. Joni, come on in, my dear sister. Okay, Joni, I think you're going to be there in 1 second. There we go.
Hello?
Joni, you're on. Yeah, you're here.
Can you hear me? All
Yes,
right,
I can.
So that clip just underlines the hypocrisy that the right is demonstrating right now. And I'd like to point out that that the right would not be winning. You would not see a lot of red if there weren't the gaming of gerrymandering going on. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Have a good morning.
Thank you very much, Joni. All right, let's go to Harry. Harry, you got a minute.
Okay, well, Roberto, I like that piece you played there. You're absolutely right. The Republican, Donald Trump, was not interested in solving the problem with the border. However, though, the Democrats have to take some blame for this, because when they had a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House, why didn't they try to pass a border plan then when Joe Biden first got in there? Now,
Let me tell. Okay, I got to answer that because that's what a lot of people ask. That is because of the arcane laws in the Senate. You need 67 votes. All right, you need 60 votes. 6-0. There were not 6-0 Democrats there. Continue.
Okay, they didn't have it. Okay, that's why they didn't do it. Okay, I get that. I understand. Okay, you guys have a good day.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and go to, I think Augie's on line 1. Come on in, Augie, line 1.
Good morning. For Brian, 3 million people voted for Hillary than voted for Trump. When Biden ran, 7 million more people voted for Biden than Trump. If Harry's interested in people, that's what the people voted for. But in the first case, the people didn't get what they wanted. They got what the Electoral College said. And as far as the Democratic National Convention, it's electees, not the people at large. The election is later on. So the people have talked, and that's what they wanted. They wanted Hillary before they wanted Trump. The people wanted Biden before they wanted Trump. And
thank you, my brother. Thank you, Augie. Thank you very much for your quickness on this one. We're running out of time. Okay, Johnny, you got 30 seconds.
Real quickly, thanks to both Harry and Augie. And here's the teeny tiny fly in the ointment I see after you played that Kamala Harris soundbite. Here's the problem. There's nothing to stop Donald Trump from doing that again, because why? He's not in prison like he should have been a year and 6 months ago. If he was in prison, he would not have been able or had interest in calling on his phone privilege outside the free world to tell his friends in the Senate to scuttlebutt that legislation she was referring to. Here you go.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one, Johnny. Hey, in the chat, want to welcome Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, Eric Hayes from King Huertas, Neil Maxim. I don't know where you're from. We have Michigan with Art Within from Detroit, Michigan. And we have Dig BTW. Hey, what's up? I don't know where Dig EW is from. Anyway, thank you for that great conversation. And since we're at time, let's pass it to the geniuses in the studio.
Well, we're still looking for those geniuses in the studio. Have you seen them, Jack? He says no. What you got, man? I don't have anything. Come on up here.
Well, Project 2025 is just a very big hazard to the whole nation.
Absolutely so. Folks, again, remember, Donald Trump is trying to distance himself from Project 2025. He cannot. The implementation has already started. When you see who he named to the Supreme Court, Project 2025. When you name who went to the district courts, Project 2025. When you look at the tax policies he implemented, Project 2025. So don't be fooled. Donald Trump is Project 2025, and it's a farce on you. I want to thank everybody that listened to us today. I want you to not just take what I say at face value, look it up. I have no fears of you trying to second guess or double check the things that I speak about. Anyway, got to get out of here. Please go to Politics Done Right. I can't say that. What I need to say is all the information that we talk about is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, including the videos that we didn't cover on the program. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Politics.com, publishers of